wholesalers, distributors, retailers, customers, and most of the general community lack the understanding of what makes the industry safe. It starts with the business owners. Strict guidelines, morals, standards, GMP certification, and regulation. For far too long, this industry has had operators that treat the industry like the Wild West, putting questionable products in the market that are untested, unlabeled, unsafe, bad labs, and the list goes on. At risk are the consumers getting sick potentially and the trust collapsing. And responsible businesses, from the manufacturers to the retailers, suffer in these situations. Here's the fix. When businesses operate with the same structure of guidelines, when they put the customer first, not the quick buck, that's when the industry grows. That's when it thrives. Safety isn't a barrier or a burden. It's the foundation for longevity and for this Bill 1282. That's why Idaho needs Kratom Consumer Protection Act, the KCPA passed. It doesn't outlaw Kratom, it safeguards it, banning 7-hydroxy and other derivatives, mandatory GMP standards for raw goods, real lab testing, honest labels, and no shortcuts. Idaho now gets the opportunity to create the blueprint of a high standard KCPA to now be the minimum standard for the rest of the states to follow as they pass their own KCPAs. And honestly, I use Kratom myself. Not every day, therefore I'm not addicted, but it's helped me walk away from alcohol over 3 years ago. I'm just one of the tens of thousands of stories on how Kratom has helped impact my life positively. I've spent years proving you can run top-notch businesses by putting the customer first. Now let's make sure everyone does their part in this space to do the same. I ask the committee to back Idaho's lead. Let's turn regulation into protection, not red tape, not headlines. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, sir, for your testimony. I have two quick questions. I'll start with one. If this bill was to not make it across to the governor's desk, would Kratom be banned, or would nothing change?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Cole. Would Kratom be banned if this doesn't go? No. This is a short answer.
Thank you, and I appreciate the short answer. It was a short question.
Senator Cole.
Oh, I apologize, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, sir. My next question for you is I want to get back on the enforcement and penalties. So we've heard testimony from folks who have actually lost family members to this. And it looks like if a person on line 1 of page 4, I see section 1, a person that knowingly violates this chapter is subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $1,000. And if we go further down, that will be the Attorney General's purview or county prosecuting attorney to get those $1,000. But that's where it ends. And in line 14 of page 4, subsection B, a private cause of action is prohibited. So I appreciate what you were just saying about quality control in business, but it seems like if someone doesn't follow any of the rules set forth in this pending legislation, the worst case scenario for them is $1,000 for the first violation, $2,500 for subsequent violation, and a bad review on Yelp. Am I wrong on that?
Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Cole. I speak on behalf of majority of the business owners and people who are in this space as far as from the branded side, wholesale side. We've collectively been meeting about this for weeks, and we understand what's happening in the space where 7-hydroxy has put a bad reputation on what happens with real Kratom, with the real stories of real people that are out there, much like you just heard from Mrs. Romney. Now, if you are asking, should those penalties be higher, then I would be in support of those penalties being higher if that's what you're asking. I think that majority of the folks in here who are doing business want to follow the standards. They want to do things right because they understand that longevity of business, the economy that they're helping here in Idaho, and doing good business is what we all want to do.
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Senator Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, sir. I guess the question is, if the manufacturing practices of all the producers or anyone in the industry is legitimate, why are we completely prohibiting private cause of action?
Mr. Baker?
Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Senator. I believe, much like Mr. Farias said, that is going to be to the discretion of the person who is, deciding to do that civil. They have that capability. But I also believe that when you have everybody who are running the same guidelines, because right now we don't have a KCPA, and so not everyone adheres to all the exact same guidelines. So when you have structure, when all of the companies are running the exact same way and have to hold the accountability across the board, that changes dramatically because there's no leaks, there's no loopholes, and everyone now is practicing business on the top tier level.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Cole?
Follow up. And I appreciate that sentiment. It's just, and maybe I have an amateur reading of this, what's going on here. We're listing out regulations, and from what I'm able to tell on the enforcement and penalties, if those regulations are not met, we're going to get a $1,000 to $2,500 fine, but that's it. So when we're talking about potentially, and we also have letters here from MDs stating that there have been deaths related to both natural leaf and 7-OH. Potentially, we're dealing with major health issues. I guess my last question to you is, why the need to prohibit the private cause of action? And the reason I'm harping on this is, I think someone's legal recourse is one of their fundamental rights. So why are any other manufacturer, if milk production is not done to standard, there is private right of action? That seems to be a pretty standard course across the food industry. I'm just wondering, why are we doing it here? Why are we prohibiting the cause of action if we think these regulations are so important?
Mr. Baker?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you, Senator Cole. I think when you're reaching for that answer, we have to go relate back to Tammy and the rest of the group that has brought that bill upon, because when we put these guidelines in place, obviously we're trying to make sure that everything is top tier and A grade, right? We're trying to make sure that there's a whole process behind this, Senator Cole, that if we had time, I could be able to explain the whole process to you from farm to finish, okay? So I do think, as Mr. Ferry said, a lot of our companies, we have product liability insurance, right? We're set up for those potential civil cases if those come along. And if you're suggesting that gets removed, or that, maybe there could be an amendment, but why that's in there, I can't tell you exactly why that got put in there verbatim. But again, I think everyone civilly has their own right to do what they want if something happens to them. So,
Are there any more questions?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry,
Senator
may I
Taylor.
just for a comment, but not a question? We seem to be confusing Kratom and keeping it separate from 7-OH. 7-OH is a natural component of Kratom, so we can't keep separating those two. They are one and the same.
Okay, thank you, Senator Taylor. That kind of answered my question, but I'm curious, so if someone dies and there's kratom in their system, is there a way to discern through postmortem testing if it's the 7-OH, that those concentrations are too high, or if it's synthetic 7-OH, or if it's kratom and the natural 7-OH? Can that be determined postmortem?
thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Taylor, just to touch on what you said real quick, and then I may get to your answer. Kratom naturally produces in your body as Mr. Macado said, a very, very small amount of 7-hydroxy when it gets produced through the liver. Okay, I'm talking, and don't quote me, not a scientist, but it's less than 1% that happens. The 7-hydroxy that's being marketed on the shelves is synthetically made to be potentially 10 to 20 times stronger than other opioid drugs that are out there on the market. So there is a very large difference of that on the market. In fact, widely different. You would be something like a cup of coffee saying that has caffeine, and an energy drink that says it has 500 or 1,000 milligrams of caffeine in it. A big difference. And to your answer, autopsies obviously are done state by state by different coroners. I think that every state has different testing facilities. I think that Mac would be able to speak to this on a better on a better level, but I believe that testing needs to be standard across the board as well, what everyone is testing for. And I don't know the answer if there is a 7-hydroxy test compared to just a metrogenine test, which is really hard to decipher, much like it was stated earlier. If it's in your system at all, it's going to come up, just like if you had caffeine in your system, it's going to come up, and they're relating a lot of these deaths just basically upon that. So I would like to refer that back to Mac when he comes up here later about the testing and what they're doing about that state by state.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Our next testifier is Norman Litchfield. Thank you for being here today. Introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Committee. Thank you for hearing my testimony today. My name is Dr. Norm Litchfield. I am a psychiatrist and addiction medicine specialist. I'm also the current president of the Idaho Society of Addiction Medicine, representing physicians and other healthcare professionals dedicated to the prevention and treatment of addiction in Idaho. I am here on behalf of my patients, colleagues, and the Society to share our grave concern for the risks posed by the unregulated sale of Kratom and its active metabolite, 7-hydroxymetragenine, or 7-OH. We support the bill as a first step towards ensuring better consumer protection and safety. We would like to see this bill improved by expanding regulation to botanical kratom, not limiting to its active metabolite 7-OH, increasing age restrictions, increasing fines for violations, and lifting prohibition on private cause action, applying warning labels to all products, and applying a ban on flavorings and marketing to children and minors. I gathered several stories from patients and colleagues who have experienced the harmful impact of the unregulated sale of Kratom firsthand. In my own work, I've encountered countless patients who developed an opioid use disorder related to Kratom addiction, who told me that they never knew the dangers associated with Kratom when they began using it. Many told me they first started using Kratom because it was readily available at their local convenience store, and they assumed it was safe. Others said they were introduced by friends who suggested Kratom as a non-addictive alternative to opioid pain medication. Each ended up with significant problems related to their Kratom addiction, leading to serious health consequences, impairment to livelihoods and relationships, and in one instance, a heartbreaking account of a death of a loved one. Many stories deserve telling here, but one in particular stands out. An 11-month-old who nearly died because of an accidental exposure to Kratom, brought to the emergency department by EMS with seizure activity and respiratory failure after the infant's 2-year-old sibling gave the infant a strawberry-flavored tablet containing Kratom. Thankfully, EMS were able to revive the infant by quickly providing Narcan, and the skilled clinicians in the emergency department were able to stabilize the infant, saving its life. In each of these stories, the individuals involved shared they were not aware of the risks associated with Kratom and would not have made the decisions they made regarding the substance if there had been warning labels or other indicators of the risk associated with the substance. Thank you for your time. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Litchfield. Are there any questions? Senator Lakey?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Dr. Litchfield. So you described a lot of risks, health risks, potential death. Why shouldn't this be scheduled and prescribed?
Dr. Litchfield?
Madam Vice Chair, Senator, I actually anticipate that the DEA will likely end up scheduling Kratom, metragenine, and its active metabolite at some point in the future. It's important to know that Kratom is a natural plant, just like opium is a natural plant. And just like opium, its active metabolite is an opioid. We don't allow the sale of opium or other opioids because they are scheduled by the DEA. Unfortunately, the DEA moves slowly, and they have not caught up to the science to understand that just like opium, kratom or metragynine is also an opioid. It is true that the active metabolite of kratom is at a much lower concentration than an opium, but someone can still take enough kratom in the natural plant to have the same opium effects from its active metabolite.
Senator Van Orden.
Thank you, Mr. Critchfield. Can we get, I forgot your, get a copy of your testimony, please?
Yes, I have medicine policy statements. I have my testimony, my colleague's testimony, and I also have a compilation of provider and patient testimony as well.
Okay, I would like, Madam Chair, follow up?
Van Orden.
Thank you. I would like a copy, just amendments to what we have in front of us at this point. Why? Thank you.
Understood. Yes, I can add those. It's not actually in my written testimony, but it may be in my colleague's written testimony.
Thank you. Senator Blaylock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would you support a full ban in the state currently if the goal is to push the FDA to add this to the controlled substance list?
Dr. Litchfield.
Madam Vice Chair, Senator, so I can speak personally. Personally, I would support a full ban. My concern and the position of the Idaho Society of Addiction Medicine is that if we push now for a full ban, that may not happen. And I do believe no action is worse than some action at this point. And so I do believe the bill, hopefully with amendments to improve the bill, would be better than no action. I personally believe that a full ban would be better. That said, I do have concerns that if we do implement a full ban, there will very likely be people who go without, as we have heard today, a substance that they are taking that they will likely go through withdrawal when that ban goes into action. And so I am worried about that, and I'm concerned about that. I also feel that the grave risks associated with the unregulated sale and the availability at local convenience stores outweighs that, in my personal opinion, because I have seen over and over the effects of this substance that people assume is safe, right? And I can tell you, I work in hospitals, I work in clinics. Almost not a day goes by that I don't see someone that is referred to me who is having severe problems as a result of their addiction to this substance. And healthcare professionals don't know about it. It's becoming more aware, but many people aren't aware of it, and they aren't even asking. So many of my colleagues aren't even educated and aware to know to ask about it, which is, again, part of the reason why I'm here today to improve education and awareness.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, our next testifier is Kate Heel. Thank you for being here today. If you would introduce yourself to the committee, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, Madam Chair and Committee. Thank you for hearing my testimony today. My name is Dr. Kate Heil, and I'm a family medicine and addiction medicine physician in the Treasure Valley. I am here on behalf of the Idaho Society of Addiction Medicine. We are physicians and healthcare professionals dedicated to preventing and treating addiction. Metragynine is the main active chemical in kratom. 7-OH or 7-hydroxymetragynine is a minor chemical present in botanical or natural kratom, but is being added in high quantities to what is being sold today. It is a potent chemical that can cause addiction, withdrawal, and even overdose and death. The FDA came out with a strong statement about kratom and 7-OH in September 2025, saying that these substances are not appropriate for use as a supplement. Neither are FDA approved. As a medical community, we have serious concerns about both 7-OH and Kratom. We are grateful for the proposed regulation of 7-OH. In Idaho, there have been many cases of Kratom dependence and addiction and overdose requiring hospital stays. Personally, I have had a number of patients suffer ill effects from Kratom, including addiction and other health problems. In our opinion, there is also a need for further regulation of botanical Kratom because of its health effects and out of concern for public safety. People should be able to make an informed decision about what they are purchasing. Specifically, we would support raising the legal purchase age of Kratom from 18 to 21, which would align with the state's laws requiring regarding alcohol and tobacco. Many of our patients have suffered financial consequences from Kratom use, buying more and more to get the same effect. We support increasing the fines for violation of the law to $2,500 for the first and subsequent violations. Many of our patients have told us that they would not have used Kratom or 7-OH if they knew that it could be addictive. We support legislation that would have a clear warning label stating, "Warning, this product contains Kratom. This substance has not been approved by the U.S. FDA and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Usage may be habit-forming and may lead to death. Consult a doctor if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. Not for sale to persons under 21. We would also oppose prohibition on a private cause of action. Finally, we suggest ensuring these regulations apply to all retailers, including online sellers. Thank you for your time. I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick Solari. Thank you for being here. If you would introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm Patrick Soulier, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. I am not a regular consumer of Kratom. I approach this testimony today as someone who has followed this industry since 2007 before joining it professionally in 2024. Over nearly 20 years, I have seen many positive stories where the natural plant provided a stable path forward for people. This long-term perspective gives me confidence in the benefits of traditional Kratom when it is handled responsibly. What stands out most to me is that reputable businesses are the ones asking for this regulation. In almost any industry, especially the 18-plus industry, companies fight oversight. Here, there is a good faith effort to bring transparency to the market. This push recognizes without regulation, a lack of clarity only benefits bad actors and undermines the safety standards the state is trying to uphold. This bill clearly distinguishes the natural plant from new, high-potency synthetic alternatives, which is a necessary step. I urge you to support this bill to provide the clarity and safety Idahoans deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next testifier is Michael Larson. And we set a hard stop at 9:45. So, if what's been said you already have to say, or if you could just work with us there so that our presenters have some time to close. Thank you so much. If you would introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning. My name is Michael Larson. I'm here today speaking on behalf of myself, also as an owner of Bedrock Botanicals. We're a manufacturer and distributor of Kratom products here in the Treasure Valley. I'm speaking today in favor of the proposed legislation, and I'm here as a harm reduction advocate. I believe in the effectiveness of harm reduction rather than the fantasy of harm elimination. I have a rare combination in my view, as I am myself an ex-drug addict, having graduated from the Ada County Drug Court program in 2006, and then spending 10 years there mentoring clients. So while I feel for all of those who have lost their loved ones to substances, I myself have as well, and the facts must matter. And the facts are that right now, according to the FDA, HHS, and the administration, Kratom deaths are rare and nearly always a result of polydrug use. The goal of the legislation that is being brought before us today is for product consistency and purity, and to help keep these life-saving products available to the tens of thousands of Idahoans who depend on them. Kratom has been available in this Treasure Valley for decades. If it were nearly as dangerous as is suggested, there would be undeniable carnage, not rare anecdotes. As someone who has lost their loved one to substances, I feel the pain of all of those who have lost someone they love. But even if we take away every claim at face value of Kratom-induced death, those do not hold a candle to the number of lives that are lost to the scourge of fentanyl deaths in America. Just in the hour that we've been discussing this issue, fentanyl has killed 10 more Americans. I bring forth my testimony written today from my heart and from my hands that are calloused by the weight of all the caskets that I've carried due to the prevalence of fentanyl and its scars that it's left not just on this community, but on my family itself. So I'd ask that for those in need, for not just chronic pain, but for those suffering from addiction, that we keep this product available and help eliminate those deaths that will inevitably come from its prohibition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Are there any questions? Senator Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Larson, for your testimony. You mentioned prohibition. You know, there are several drugs in the state of Idaho that are prohibited, that are legal in other states. I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on kind of the broader scope of issue? Do you think medical marijuana should be available in Idaho?
I don't believe that my opinions on, oh, I'm sorry, madam, thank you so much. I don't believe that my opinions on medical marijuana have anything to do here. I don't believe that medical marijuana is going to save anybody from fentanyl addiction. I believe that fentanyl addiction is something that is ravaging our city and our state and our country on a daily basis, and killing people by the minute. So that anything that we have, any weapon we have against it should be used to help prevent those deaths.
Any more questions? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Our next testifier is Edward Boyer. Thank you, Edward. If you would introduce yourself, welcome to the committee, and you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Edward Boyer. I'm an emergency physician and medical toxicologist. I'm going to change the script a little bit here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about assessment into cause of death, specifically related to medical examiners and coroners. Back in 2013, the National Association of Medical Examiners and American College of Medical Toxicologists recognized that there were difficulties in terms of assigning of cause of death, specifically in opioid-related substances. And they came out with a series of best practices, which are pretty straightforward, but which are very rarely applied. The first clear recommendation that these best practices came up with was there needs to be an adequate death scene investigation with complete photographs of all substances found. The other recommendation that they made is that there needs to be a deep dive into previous medical history, social history, and substance use history in all cases. And that extends all the way back into pediatric medical records, because there are pediatric diseases which persist into childhood, which often are inadequately documented by adult physicians. And then the last major recommendation relates to adequacy of testing. The problem that medical examiners and coroners ran into was that they ignored the impact of tolerance in assessing whether or not there was a relationship between a concentration of substance found in autopsy and cause of death. And when you're tolerant, you can have far higher concentrations. Second, a lot of testing is simply inadequate to identify the full range of substances that somebody can be exposed to. So that's my quick exposure. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Cole?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, sir, for your testimony. Just to clarify, where do you stand on this bill for my sake, I guess? What are your thoughts on this bill? Are you in favor or opposed?
Mr. Boyer?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other on the bill. I'm a scientist. I'm interested in science. I'm always in favor of regulation. What I will say, though, is that for these substances, for individuals who, we've in medicine and outside of medicine, there's been a steady move towards patient-centered care and patients taking greater salience and ownership of their medical care. And so for these substances, that offers an opportunity for patients to take control of their care to a greater degree while avoiding the cost of prescription pharmaceuticals and the risk of formal opioids. I should have also said at the outset that my day job is to manage opioid my day job is to manage overdoses. And as part of that, I wrote the treatise in the New England Journal of Medicine on management of opioid overdose. So this is an area where I've been involved for a while. I also was one of the first to publish adverse events associated with Kratom all the way back in 2007. And I had a Fulbright to Malaysia to study physiologic effects of Kratom in long-term users. So this is an area where I've been involved for quite a while.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Boyer. All right, so we have no more testifiers. So Senator Nichols, if you would come up and offer us your concluding statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, what I'd like to do first is I know Mr. Haddow has a few answers to some of the questions that were brought up, so I'd like him to come up and answer those questions for you, if I can. Thank you.
Mr. Haddow?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. As I mentioned earlier, natural doesn't mean safe. What we don't know about many of the reported deaths is whether it was an adulterated product, and that's what the FDA, the National Institutes on Drug Abuse, and HHS say conclusively, that it can be, the three causes are polydrug use, adulterated kratom products. That includes natural kratom products that have been concentrated above the levels that would be restricted in this bill. That happens, and when it happens, it poses risk. And when someone says, well, my child or my sibling or a loved one was using natural kratom, the question is, what were they using? And as Dr. Boyer just referenced, it is critically important that the medical examiner uses the protocols that are necessary to deliver one important thing, the truth about the cause of death. And it is complicated. And in the case the Idaho case, you have before you an evaluation of the actual procedures that were used. This is consistent in terms of the FDA's evaluation of the deaths that have been reported with medical examiners, and their conclusion, the FDA's conclusion, is that there is not a significant safety risk based on an evaluation of all of the deaths that have been reported to them under the federal adverse event reporting system, and all deaths are reported there by doctors, by medical examiners, and by consumers. Their conclusion prevails that there is not an overall a significant safety risk associated with natural kratom leaf products. There is for adulterated and chemically manipulated products.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, Senator Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize to the committee for being the question guy today. And thank you, sir, for your testimony. So I just keep getting back to this immunity question. So this is the chapter that we're talking about, and on the back page, a person that knowingly violates this chapter, so everything here within this chapter is where we prohibit 7-OH and all the things that you've just described as being potentially lethal, and we have evidence of it being lethal. And the maximum penalty for violating anything in this new legislation is $2,500. And a family of someone, whether or not, from my reading, whether or not it's natural leaf or 7-OH, has no right to private cause of action. Am I wrong on that?
Mr. Haddow?
Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee, in the other 19 states that have passed the KCPA, this issue is addressed in different ways, depending on what the legislators in that state want. As the American Kratom Association, we believe that strict, significant penalties should be applied to any manufacturer or distributor or retailer of a product who knowingly distributes a product that's violative of the standards that are embodied in this act. We, for example, in the state of Utah, recommended a $25,000 fine, and the legislators didn't like that. They thought it was excessive. So I think this is a decision this body needs to make as to what the adequate deterrent would be for a violator. But on the issue of private cause of action, I can tell you that the trial lawyers have made a cottage industry out of suing Kratom manufacturers, and all they need is a medical examiner giving them a poorly constructed false report. And the only conclusions or findings by courts in those multiple cases has been that where the labeling was incorrect and where the formulation of the products was excessive. That should be allowed, and certainly we could modify that provision if you think it bars this trial lawyers, cottage industry from suing. It ought to be responsibly done, and we're certainly willing to accept any recommendation on that.
Just real quick follow-up, Madam Chair. So just want to clarify, if we have an Idaho child die from 7-OH, the family is going to be prohibited from a private cause of action. Is that correct?
Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee, as I read what you've just read, I think that there is a barrier. I don't know the law enough to know whether there's also the ability, aside from this act, for a product liability claim, which is different than violating the standards of this particular act. For example, that restricts you from suing someone who has met the standard. But if you sell a product that is clearly violative of the standards in this bill, it's fair game to be sued if you can prove that this, in fact, does not meet the standards that are embodied in the bill.
Are there any other questions? Senator Lent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here today. I'm struggling with a couple of things here. I struggle to hear your adamant declaration that, at least from my interpretation, that this is not harmful. But yet we see people who are personally affected, who stand here, who are Idaho people, who have lost loved ones. That's a contrary situation for me to handle. And as I look at this legislation, what I see is an interesting thing. And one comes to mind is, I wonder how many people here have a commercial interest in this? How many people here have a commercial interest in this? Because as I read this legislation is really written in their interest. When I see that it says 18-year-olds, why in Idaho you have to be 21 to alcohol or cigarettes? Why would we lower that to 18? The other thing is this personal right of action. This is really protecting, and I guess I take offense to that this legislation seems to be written for and on behalf of the industry. And for that reason, I'll be against it.
So, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee, respectfully, Senator, it's not my statements about the safety of Kratom. I said natural doesn't mean safe. But if you look at the science, and the science is conclusive on the issue you raised, is natural leaf Kratom products, are they safe? If they are not adulterated, meaning that they're not concentrated above what you would get in a product that uses FDA-approved food-grade solvents, then yes, they're safe. And that's based on the FDA's own dose-finding study and multiple human studies that have been submitted to the FDA for products that are on the market under what's called a new dietary ingredient notification that they pass through to the FDA. So the FDA has all of that information. The FDA's conclusion about the safety of products is articulated by Commissioner McCary and by Secretary Kennedy when they said the focus is on getting 7-OH off the market, chemically manipulated. They've referred that to the DEA, and it's under consideration right now. What they specifically said repeatedly on many broadcasts, national broadcasts, the focus is not on natural kratom leaf products. And the reason it's not is it doesn't meet the 8 factors that are required under the Controlled Substances Act, the federal law, which I think is mirrored in Idaho law. And with all respect to Dr. Litchfield, they have to meet those 8 factors. And that has been evaluated multiple times by the DEA, and they found, and I'll quote Dr. Joie, who was the Assistant Secretary for Health, who's the responsible party under the Controlled Substances Act. When the FDA recommended scheduling in 2018, he said it was based on embarrassingly poor evidence and data and a failure to consider the overall public health. So I guess the bottom line is balance. How do you balance
products that are safely formulated, that can be used responsibly, properly labeled, and age restricted. I have no problem going to 21. That's not a problem. I would have no problem with removing the restriction on the liability, except you open the door to all of the problems. I don't represent industry, and this bill does not, respectfully, only serve the interest of industry. It requires them to protect consumers by formulating their products correctly, labeling them correctly, and an
Mr.
age
Haddow?
restriction. Yeah.
We're just short on time. I apologize for interrupting you. Senator Lent, you have a follow-up?
Thank you. Just a short one, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. When you stand here and testify and you quote numbers, you say it. You can say these are coming from other things, but you were the one here, you were the one testifying, and those are your words. So I don't really buy washing it off or blaming other people or whatever we want to do, but you're here, these are your words, so you said it.
Madam Vice Chair,
Mr. Haddow, briefly.
Senator Lent, I was quoting the FDA study. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert, and I wasn't trying to mislead you in any way. I can't speak to these things, but the FDA can, the National Institute on Drug Abuse can, and the 300-plus peer-reviewed articles
Madam Chair.
say it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Senator Lent. Thank you, Mr. Haddow. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you for being
Thank you.
here today. Thank you for your testimony. Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee, and thank you for everyone that has testified today. I really appreciate the dialogue on an important topic and one that we know is needing to have a discussion. I just want to say that this bill, well, I want to answer a couple of questions really quick. So we are open to making some amendments on this. And I talked with Mr. Kane from the Idaho Health Boards. They would like to see the age 21. They were actually really glad that we're bringing this legislation. They think it's a really good step forward in being able to get a handle on what is going on with 70H. And so I talked with him day before yesterday, and I told him that we were open to doing the 21. Senator Cole, to your question in regards to the provisions on penalties and such, is that we're open to making other amounts in there and taking care of the private cause of action. This is a per incident type thing, so there could be, these are not maximums. They just start an amount, but this gives the purview with the Attorney General to be able to handle these, but we are open to making that change and being able to facilitate a different penalty structure in that, which I think would just take a few tweaks in that. The thing is right now is there's nothing that is controlling this. There is nothing that is happening, and I think it's really interesting when you can get an industry to come together and be open to wanting to protect what the good portion of it. We want to get rid of the bad actors. We want to make sure that the things that are harming people are not on the market. And that is like your gas station pills. I did not tell, and I have to clarify this just because that was not what I said. I did not say that my kids, that I told them not to use Kratom. I told them that they should never take pills from other people. That is what I told them. I've always taught my kids that, to know what they're actually taking and what they're putting into their body. And unfortunately, that does happen where kids are given other things from friends or relatives or what have you, and they don't know what they're taking and they ingest them. But the goal here is to start putting provisions into place to be able to set up a structure and standards so that we can start the process of taking care of it. We could ask the federal level to do this, but we know how long that can take. And we don't have time for that right now. We want to get a handle on this right now. And so that is what this bill provides. Like I said, it gives the ability for the industry that has come together and taking information in from like the health board, from some of our other partners that have recourse and different things in this regard to be able to put something together that we can start getting a grasp on what's going on. The other thing that we did not want to do, and the concern with doing an entire ban, is that a lot of the times, and we've seen this in other states, where it creates a black market. And then you have no control over things, and people go underground instead and start handling Kratom that way or other products that way. We've seen that happen, especially in the states that have banned it. Again, there's been 19 states that have passed a Kratom Association Act of some sort. And they've been able to do that pretty successfully. Utah was looking at doing a ban not too long ago and decided that against that, and to instead just hone up some of the parameters that their Kratom Act had, because we've learned from some of these other states, and that's why we we made this specific for what's going on in Idaho with the education that we looked at from other states and what they've learned in trial and error. So with that, committee and Madam Chair, we would like to send this to the amending order. I think there's some things that we could do to be able to set a few different standards in place, changing the age requirement. Again, this is a legal product, and I wanted just to refer very briefly to what it's in your handout too, what the FDA has said with Commissioner McCrae. He said, to be clear, the kratom plant leaf, which contains trace amounts of 7-OH, has been consumed for centuries, is not our focus at the FDA. Vape stores are popping up in every neighborhood in America, and many are selling addictive products like concentrated 7-OH. After the last wave of opioid epidemic, we cannot get caught flat-footed again. 7-OH is an opioid that can be more potent than morphine. We need regulation and public education to prevent another wave of the opioid epidemic. And that is what we're trying to accomplish with this, is the regulation component of it. And again, we don't have anything right now. There is nothing at play right now. So those products are free to be on the market. And so by not doing something, we're not going to accomplish anything. We're not going to get the bad products removed. And again, to protect the good that Kratom has also done. And so with that, Madam Chair and Committee, we would ask that this be sent to the amending order for possible amendments. And I will stand for any questions.
Are there any more questions? Okay, hearing none, Committee. Senate Bill 1282 is before
Madam
you.
Chair, can I request a roll call on this too, please?
Okay. We will do a roll call vote. Do we have a motion? Senator Lent?
Nope.
Oh. All right, well,
Madam Chair.
Senator Van Orden.
Madam Chair, I am really struggling with this. I feel like we have something out there that is causing harm that is not regulated. This is a step forward in that direction. And I don't know if there's anything coming on a federal level at this point. I missed part of the conversation, so I don't know for sure. When you put things into a bill right off the bat that cause consternation for some of us, 18 years of age, oh, we're willing to raise the age on that. The private cause of action on the back page, oh, we're willing to take that out. Why was it even there in the first place? That's a question I have. But I also feel like regulation needs to happen. It's not like this is a marijuana on a federal level that is not allowed. But you know, I don't know what the true answer to this is for sure right now. I'm going to make a motion. If it dies, so be it. But I would move to send Senate Bill 1282 to the 14th order for possible amendments.
Do we have a motion, Senator Lent?
For a substitute motion.
Substitute motion? No. Oh, Senator Nichols seconded. Senator Nichols seconded.
Okay, thanks. Substitute motion, Madam Chair.
Senator Lamb?
Before I say that, I'd just like to make a comment, and that is, when we go down the path that we don't have anything right now, that's different than legalizing it in a certain form through this legislation. There's two different steps there. So, as noted before, I would move that we hold this at call of the chair and encourage those who are involved to work with the chair and bring back legislation that looks, rather than trying to polish this up, bring back legislation that's a little cleaner. I would certainly be considerate of that. So my motion would be hold it at call of the chair.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to hold 1282 to the call of the chair. Is there discussion on the motion? Senator Van Orden.
Thank you. I'm going to support this motion because I think it does the same thing as which my motion had done. So thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Senator Taylor.
Yeah, I seconded that because I think that there are a lot of potential unseen consequences going forward with this piece of legislation. Not that the intent behind it isn't harmful, but we need to be very, very careful. I think Utah is trying to repeal their law right now because of unintended consequences. And this is something that seems to be coming at us really fast with a lot of conflicting information. So I think holding back for a little bit to make sure we get it right would be the best way to go.
Senator Taylor, are there any other comments? Senator Lakey.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'll support the motion, but do have some thoughts. I am concerned with some of the things that have been raised already. We've heard from folks that this saved their life, and then we've heard from other folks that it's taken a life. And there are products that do save lives but have significant regulation. They're scheduled, they're prescribable, the dosages are controlled by a medical professional. Those are the kind of things I would need to see in this. Because when you're talking about somebody needing it for pain and those kind of things compared to someone that's experienced the loss of a loved one, that weighs a little bit heavier in my mind. And I don't want to create a false sense of security. I think there are legislators watching this to see what happens compared to this, to some kind of requirement that it be scheduled and prescribed, call it a ban, whatever. So I think I need some significant things in here to make it more controlled in how it's used by a medical professional and things to ultimately support it.
Thank you, Senator Lakey. Senator Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for some discussion on this motion. I will be supporting this motion, and that doesn't necessarily mean, well, really what that means is we're holding the standard right now, and I think that's appropriate given the conflicting information that we've heard. We've heard from doctors, representatives of the police associations who have, I believe, legitimate concerns, and the private right of action is very important to me. I think that's a fundamental right to citizens. That's what, in many ways, it's one of our fundamental rights as Americans, is to bring our grievance between up to a court and a jury of our peers, and that's where often in times these tricky situations are worked out. There's a process in the court of law to where we can find the real evidence, and I think it's just really imperative that we, as a committee and a legislature, do everything we can to protect that fundamental right. And when we prohibit civil cases of litigation, we have to do that very carefully, and it has to have a lot of thought behind it, because to me, that is a fundamental right of our citizens that we must protect.
Thank you, Senator Cole. Are there any other comments? Okay, so we will, Senator Nichols.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just wanted to get a couple things on the record, is that first off, yes, Utah did look at going for a ban, but they have decided not to do that because, like I said, of other states with unintended consequences with going to a black market. And then the issues that I hear arising, I think, are fixable issues. And so we can definitely go back to the drawing table and regroup. Just keeping in mind, this is a legal product. This is not an illegal product. And so we're not talking, legal versus illegal. It's a legal product that's already available on the market. And I just want to, commend the industry and those that use the product for coming together to want to put something into play to be able to protect the good that a product can do. Any product that you have can do good or bad, depending on how it's used. And I've talked to lots of individuals that it has helped, and I sympathize with the ones that have had negative experiences in this regard, and understand that as well. So we can go back to the drawing table on this, fix up a few things, and bring it back. There are areas that just do want an entire ban, and I don't think that that is the smarter way to go, because we just have to look back to Prohibition and what happened during that time period of banning it and what ended up happening with Prohibition. So anyway, I just wanted to get those things on record, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nichols. All right, committee, we will be voting on a motion to hold Senate Bill 1282 in committee to the call of the chair, and Senator Nichols has asked for a roll call vote.
Chairman Nichols. Vice Chairman Zito.
Aye.
Senator Lakey.
Aye.
Lent.
Aye.
Van Orden.
Aye.
Blaylock.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Semmelroth. Taylor. Motion carries.
Okay, the motion carries. Senate Bill 1282 will be held in committee at the call of the chair. All right, I will now turn the time back over to Senator Nichols, and thank you so much for everyone being here today and your participation and your patience with me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, committee, for your hard work today and for the discussion. We appreciate it. And with that, we are adjourned.